hope everybody is having a great day. I'm having a lot of meetings this week. Really hard to get the writing on time, but let's go to our topic for the day. And this is how to be basically about how do I get my papers out, okay? Because there was a huge, a long time at the beginning of my career that I basically spent, like I kid you not, I spent like 2 years uh, writing sort of the first version of a paper that until now has not been published, so not very good. Okay, and basically at that time, every time I wanted to change something in the paper, I mean you're going to think this is sad and funny at the same time. I actually had this in my mind that I could only think with writing with pen and paper, so I would like literally write the entire paper by hand on a notebook. I still have these things. And then type it and then not like it and then rewrite by hand. So nightmare. Okay, so after many years, I basically came up with a system that gets papers shipped, and that system is based on something that I've learned and that I've already shared with you, which is a first draft is basically, and again, I'm qualifying this for qualitative papers, okay? But a first draft is basically your role in the first draft is to convince the review team that you can work with them to publish on their journal. That's what you have to do, okay? My rule of thumb is that the part of the paper that needs to be perfect, there's one part that needs to be perfect, is the results section. That needs to be perfect, okay? Why? Because most people, because data is what is rare, right? Good data is what is rare, and so good theory you can make, good theory you can work with the reviewers, good data you cannot, okay? So data is what is rare. So the results section, that needs to be perfect, okay? That means obviously collecting data that you're proud of, data that tells a good story, but also being very careful with coding and with data selection to put in the paper, okay? That needs to be perfect, okay? Then what can be trash? There's one thing that can be trash in qualitative papers, which is a method section, okay? Yeah, I mean, in the sense that, I've gotten like reviewers ask me for all kinds of things on method sections. So normally what I do is I write this very short method section, that just shows that I know what I'm doing, and then I'll just let reviewers tell me what they want, and that has fortunately always worked. Theory, okay? When you are writing the theory, think about it as, if you want to use a research concept, think about it more about internal validity than external validity. What does this mean? This means that you need to come up with a solid framework from the data to analyze data. So a solid theoretical framework, and to position the paper and so on, and a solid theoretical contribution. But I will tell you that every single person that I know gets in the first draft of the top journal, and we're talking, MIT geniuses kind of people, okay? Every single first draft that I heard about that they've told me is, basically says, where's the theoretical contribution? Basically, that's the job of, I think there may even be a template in top journals, where's the theoretical contribution, okay? And so that you need to work with the review team. I have always changed the theory sections in my papers, and I have seen a paper by a very famous, extremely well established professor for one of the top three US institutions, business schools. I have seen one paper by this person where the first draft makes the opposite theoretical contribution of the final paper. And this is a paper with tens of thousands of citations. I was lucky to see the first draft of that paper. This person shared it with me very early in my career. And she was already super well established at the time with 5-digit citations on their work. But yeah, so your theory does not have to be perfect in the sense that this is the perfect framing for this data. No. However, that framing needs to match those data. It's not the best, but it is a match. Okay? And your claim theoretical contribution in the discussion needs to be a match to the theory and the data, right? What you don't want, this is what you're trying to avoid, is that your research question in the theory is mismatched with what you're analyzing in the data, and or is mismatched with what you answer in the discussion. So what I do to help you with this is, in my papers, the research question, normally, sometimes reviewers ask me to move it around, but in the first draft, the research question is the last line in the theory and the first line in the discussion, so that I make sure that my results are answering the research question, right? So, how do people produce data about their work? That's a research question. Then that's what the results are saying. And then that when I'm writing the discussion, that I'm writing my theoretical contribution, I'm basically the boundary between the results section and the discussion section, where the theoretical contribution is the research question again. Okay, that forces me to make sure that this is aligned. Now, so you need to write a good, right? You need to have a positioning, a theoretical framework, a theoretical section that aligns with what you have in the data, and that discussion, the theoretical contribution, needs to align with what you have in the data and with what you have in the theory. Okay? For the first round, that's what you need to do. What will happen in the review process is that you'll find, and this is what I found, and this is why I love working with the review teams that I worked with, and I have to say, I've published in Org Science, AMR, I had 3 rounds in an AMJ, and I published in MS Quarterly, and I had a round in ASQ as well. I have to say that MISQ is the best in this. Like, the reviews that I got from my MISQ papers were the most helpful for this. But the other ones also helped a little, but it was, let's say, more challenging. Okay, and so I also try to help authors when I review. Okay, but this is what you need to do. Okay, this is what you need to do. What you don't need to do, and this is the perfectionist part, and this was my mistake early on, is that I was trying to do the correct, the best, the contribution that those data can provide, right? No, you need a contribution, a theory. Obviously, it can be like anything random, and you need to do your best job at coming up with that theory and that contribution. And for example, in my transfiguration paper, I had to do way less work in the theory than in my dramaturgical paper. These are both MISQ pieces. Just because one happened 5 years after the other, so I learned. I'm not a genius, but I'm capable of learning. So I learned a little bit about how to align the theory a little bit better with the data, but I still had to change it. I still had to change it significantly, just not as much. Okay, sorry about that. So so basically that's a rule, and I'll share something with you. Don't take this as advice, okay? I'm just sharing something with you, but not advice, just an observation, which is I am reviewing a paper for a top journal in NIS. The first draft that I got of this paper, I kid you not, like I almost wrote to the editor, these people have not read the theory their paper is about. And by not read the theory, it's like, imagine their paper is on institutional processes, and they had no idea what institutional theory is all about. That's it, right? So like the macro theory, no idea, okay? But the data, the data were amazing, and I saw so much these people could do with the data that I said, major revisions, revise, resubmit. And guess what? The other reviewers also did this. Now, this is an extremely risky strategy. I would never have the nerve to do something like this. But in this specific case, it worked. Now, what is the problem with this strategy other than your paper can get rejected? The problem with this strategy is that even MSQ, which is like super cool and has 6 months review cycles, you have 6 months to basically read everything on institutionalism and be able to write a paper out of it. So that's not a long time. So anyway, so I would strongly disadvise that strategy, but I just want to highlight how important it is that the data part of your paper, the results section, is perfect. Okay. Now, then there is I did put on the Twitter message for today's stream that I have a method. Okay, so basically I have a method to pace myself to make sure that I do things in time. Okay, so I'm just going to go over to Scrivener, and we'll look at the paper that I'm working now. So the first thing that I do is I do an outline for the whole paper. Okay, so I say, okay, this is what is in the theory, and these are the big blocks. So it's almost like a summary of normally the 2 theory sections, the results sections, and the discussion sections. So this is what's in the theory. This is what is in the results. This is what is in the discussion. So I do that big high level summary, and I work from there. So let me show you actually. I'll show you this on the MySQ pieces that for submission. Jesus, man, the MySQ pieces that. So where are my notes here? I just wanted to show you the notes for this. Do I have them here? No. Just trying to find the notes here. Oh wait, there they are. No. I don't have the notes for this anymore. Why, I should have. Anyway, let me see something I'm currently working on. Sorry, guys. So this one. Okay. Okay. There we go. So, so normally I do that in the introduction, okay? But I'll just show you. So here for theory, I have the theory outline, and you see it's like very high level, very short, okay? I'll have the outline for the results. This is a little bit more detailed because I have the coding, and then I have the the outline for the discussion, which is here. Okay, so super high level. Okay, and this is what I begin to work on. Let me just pull up my Twitch dashboard here. So this is what I first, try to work on. And because this is very little text, it allows me to have a zoom view of the paper and make adjustments and so on. When I am happy with this, then I go to an extended outline of the theory. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so this is an extended outline of the theory. Okay, and I do that same thing for the results and for the discussion. When I'm happy with those, I move to outlines of each of the theory sections. Okay, and that's it. And then I finish the outline. Okay, then my method is this, and we'll move to this paper here. My method is this. Once I have the outline, I write a first draft of each part. Okay, so I'll write the first draft of the introduction, and when the first draft is done, I change the icon to this yellow notepad. This means that I have written this part of the paper from start to finish. Okay, after everything in the paper is yellow, what I do is I go through all of this, I reverse outline them, all of them at the same time, so that I can go through the paper in one go. Again, I reverse outline them. What is a reverse outline? Basically, you read what you wrote and you make an outline from what you wrote, right? So that's reverse outlining. So I do that, okay? That will prompt me to make some adjustments through multiple parts of the paper. The way I do that is not by rewriting, unless it's something small, is I do a new full outline, and from that full outline, I'll revise every section of the paper. Once I've done that, I change the icon to blue. Once I've changed the icon to blue, I can only change writing, no longer change ideas or outline or structure, unless I find that I wrote something stupid or something that is out of place. Okay, but normally, it needs to be like something that really, I wasn't thinking clearly, I was sleepy that day, I don't know. Okay, so what does this mean? That, look at the chance that I have. First chance to think is that I have 3 iterations in my first big ideation for the paper. So the outline for the whole thing, the outline for each major section, theory, results, discussion, and then the outline for each subsection. So theory 1, theory 2, discussion 1, discussion 2. Okay? So that gives me the first big version of the paper with 2 iterations, right? Because I change a lot in each of these outlines. I can change a lot. So first thing, I have a solid outline. Then I have a second revision of content and ideas when I write that outline into the text. Okay, so that's when I'm doing the yellow text. Okay, so when I'm like writing from the outline, and I'll adjust things. We think and have ideas as we write. So that's the second chance that I have to do major changes to the ideas in the paper and so on. Okay, my third chance is when I move this to blue. Okay, and moving to blue is about reverse outline for all of the sections in all of the paper and edit back from that outline. Okay, so basically I have 3 big chances to put my ideas on the paper. After that, no more is allowed. Okay, no more is allowed. It's done. The paper is done. Okay, then from blue, I have a blue to unchecked. Okay, so I go to this here and I use this icon. Okay, And from root to uncheck, basically um, from root to uncheck, what I'm doing is I'm reading the text. I'm reading the text, and I'm sort of like trying to cut as much as I can to make it cleaner and so on without help. So without Hemingway, without pro writing aid. So just cutting the text, arranging things in paragraphs and so on. But I am no longer allowed to change ideas. Okay, that's it. Okay, so it's just English. Then from unchecked to checked. Let me see. Okay, so I go. Where's the icon thing? Change icon. Okay, so unchecked to check. That's what we did the other day with Hemingway and Pro Writing Aid. Okay, so once the paper is checked, it can go. Okay, now sometimes there are tasks that I need to do that mean that I cannot just submit a paper that has everything checked. Okay, in this particular paper, I need to add a few references, and I also need to change the headings and subheadings here to match the journal requirements. But it's very small formatting things, and that's it. Okay, so basically I have 3 chances to change the ideas, and then 2 chances to change the writing and the words and the wording. Okay, am I tempted to change ideas after I do the writing from the reverse outlining? Yes, but I do not allow myself to do that unless I feel there's something missing, right? Sometimes there's something missing, but normally it's basically, it's either something that is not very clear, so it's almost editing text, or, it's basically I need to make a sort of a summary or a roadmap of the paper because a section is too long. Sometimes I want to split things out in section, but it's sort of almost like major formatting things rather than what is the paper about, what is the direct contribution. Okay, so by doing this, I do give myself enough rounds to think and engage with the paper and the materials, but um, but not infinite rounds. So I have 3 rounds, okay? And so that's my process to make sure that I send papers out. And the what gives me confidence to follow this process is knowing that if I do a good job in the results and the data are good, the revise and resubmit is likely. As long as I don't do a massive screw up in theory. As I told you, even with a massive screw up in theory, you can get a revise and resubmit. But but also that I've gone through a lot of rounds for this paper. So you saw in my I don't have it open anymore, but my mass quarterly paper was published on the 4th round. I got 3 rounds on MJ before rejection, 3 rounds on my first MSQ piece, 4 rounds on my org science piece. So I already sort of know what sort of needs to be there in the theory, like what blocks. Then I'll have to change the content of the blocks, but what blocks needs to be there, I sort of already know. And I showed you the template, like it's one of the first videos of the channel where I showed my paper template, what are those blocks that I learned through all of these processes. And so that assures me that I can trust the process and push this out. Okay, I have no questions in chat, so I just want to thank you for watching. Thank you very much, Eva Leon Fangirl31, for following me at 13 minutes ago. Really appreciate having a new follower. I thank you for that. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay. Also want to tell you tomorrow. I'm wrapping up a paper. Deadline is next Sunday. So what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm going to do the stream at a really unproductive time for me, which is 6 p.m. Okay, so we'll have a stream at 6 p.m. It'll be a bigger stream. So and I'm thinking about 2 or 3 topics. I haven't really decided on what topics to do, but the most likely topic is about how to organize your and how to organize reading lists and do reading notes. Okay. So I'll catch you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Paris time, hopefully. Have a great end of your Friday, and if you're watching this live, and a great weekend. Bye bye.